Fratallone's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you the listener.
Me?
Garage Logic Podcast number 1322. God, I hope that's right. June 10th, 2024. 99 degrees on this day in 1956. We'll get back to that in a moment. And 40 degrees on this day in 1877. If you own a lake home or you have a pond would be good for most of the people in this room.
Spring.
I hope you get a hold of the people at Aquaside. They've been helping people maintain Great Lake shores for more than 60 years with a complete line of lake and pond control products that take care of everything from weeds to algae. The products are easy to use. They work quickly. They've been vetted by the EPA and DNR. There's no need to let weeds overtake your lakefront this summer. Call Aquaside today. Walk down there, call them, tell them what you're looking at. They'll get you the right products, and your place will look great all summer long. Call Aquaside at 1-800-328-9350 or go to aquaside.com.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
The nation's hot spots, the Southwest, for example, the heat is being reported as though it's an example of evil mankind ruining Mother Earth. Has anyone ever heard of this heat wave in 1956 that we had right here? I haven't.
She was a hot one.
But John has been looking at his newspaper history. It was 99 degrees on this day in 1956. I think that's day one of 3 or 4 days in a row this week when the record highs were established in 1956. And I always, I love the sense whens. I think they're important. John, what have you found? Was there hysteria? Was there, did the TV meteorologist call for people to seek shelter? What happened?
I looked at the front pages of June 10th through June 15th, and it was mentioned there. For instance, on the 10th, it said it's going to be hot. Mm-hmm. On the 11th, it said Minneapolis has lots of water to water, but in the suburbs, they don't have as much because of the heat. On June 13th, the front page says cool front is stalling. On the 14th, and I love this headline, it says nervous weather relents.
Really?
Rain expected as breather. So
I bet we had a hell of a storm. I bet we had a storm at the end of that stretch.
Rains. We did have rains then on the 15th. Rains route heat wave.
I see.
Is the headline. And all the stories were they were about the weather. That's all. There was no.
They were about the weather, and they didn't intend to impose an ideological bent on the reader of the newspapers.
No, not at all.
It was reporting.
Mm-hmm.
And the reporting essentially said, man, is it hot out?
Right.
We don't have that.
The facts.
We don't have that today.
No, just the facts.
Today we don't get that. We get the ideological musing about how dreadful it's going to be, and if only we drove EVs. Can I tell you something about EVs?
Please do. It's your show.
You may.
Short editorial in today's Wall Street Journal, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Governor Gavin Newsom wants to spread his anti-fossil fuel gospel far beyond California. But last week, he lost a follower. Virginia canceled its plan to adopt West Coast vehicle standards, offering drivers freedom instead of climate dogma.
Okay.
I wonder if that'll happen here.
It remains to be seen.
There was a big piece in, I'm going to say Monday or Tuesday of last week in the Wall Street Journal about that subject. And it's what you just said. I was hoping the whole time I was reading it. It's got to happen here. It's got to happen. They signed up for the nonsense, discovered it was nonsense.
Governor Glenn Youngkin said his state will not phase out sales of gas-powered vehicles.
Yep.
Despite a 2021 law that may have set Virginia on a course to ban them by 2035, as California will. The idea that government should tell people what kind of car they can or can't purchase is fundamentally wrong, said Governor Youngkin. Can you imagine Wall saying such a thing?
No.
He couldn't.
No.
He couldn't. He's changing policy set by Democratic Governor Ralph Northam, who signed a bill letting Virginia impose regulations set by the California Air Resources Board. That's an unelected board in California, by the way.
A lot of power for
appointees.
Not elected.
The Biden administration opened the door by letting the Golden State set stricter rules than those set by the EPA. And Virginia was one of several states to follow California. In 2022, Mr. Newsom pushed the California Air Resources Board to impose even stricter rules, mandating that zero-emission cars make up 35% of new automaker sales by 2026 and 100% by 2035. And stop right there. They're not zero emission.
No.
Democrats in Virginia say they are bound to go along once the new rules take effect next year. So much for individual state sovereignty. The Old Dominion's exit follows an opinion by Attorney General Jason Moriarty that the new rules do not bind the state. He said Virginia's emissions regulator may adopt the California rules, but not that it must. Democrats disagree, and environmental groups will likely challenge the decision in court. Yet the AG is on firm legal ground in following the law's plain text. The General Assembly knows how to express its attention and easily could have directed the board to adopt standards identical to California's, the AG writes. But Virginia's 2021 law gives regulators several explicit orders, but it leaves adopting the new rules as a matter of discretion. Now, Mr. Youngkin came aboard, and he has the public on his side. A December poll found that 50% of Virginians want to repeal the vehicle mandates, compared with 30% who prefer to keep them in place. Ditching the mandates will give consumers a choice of EVs or gas-powered cars, which will help low-income buyers in particular. As for Mr. Newsom, check back in a decade to see where his forced EV march has led the Golden State. Thank you, Glenn Youngkin.
The Golden State. It's not really the Golden State anymore. It's kind of tarnished, isn't it?
Thank you, Glenn Youngkin. I drove to Thunder Bay and back over 3 days. Got gas at gas stations. I never.
What's the vibe in Canada?
I'm not exaggerating. I did not see an electric car. Now, you would think I would have. I even stopped at a hippie coffee shop in.
Not one? You didn't encounter
I even
one?
stopped on the way home, stopped at a hippie coffee shop in Lutzen. Very good coffee, by the way.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, there'll be some electrics here. I didn't see one. And nor do they have a charging station.
So you drove up the hill to where it burned down?
No, right off 61, there was a hippie coffee shop.
Oh, down at the lake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Did you, at your coffee shop, was there a political vibe? What are they?
No.
Canadians are.
I'm sure there might have been if you wanted to pursue that, but everybody just wanted coffee. It was early Saturday morning. Bing, bang, boom.
Lutzen is in Minnesota, Matthew.
Well, no, but I mean, when he was up in Thunder Bay, I wondered what.
Was there a vibe up there?
Yeah, was there a.
I missed it, but the opening party for the British car gathering did acknowledge indigenous land.
Okay.
Other than that, I didn't detect any.
Second question: did the Lutzen coffee shop, did they have a restroom that you took advantage of?
No.
Okay.
And it wasn't a Lutzen coffee shop. It was a hippie coffee shop in Lutzen.
Lutzen is in Minnesota.
How were the
I was just
horseflies?
informed.
0 horseflies.
Oh, good.
The only good thing about horseflies is they're slow enough where you can get your revenge.
The only thing I thought the whole time was up there is how in the hell would you like to live up here in the winter?
I'd love it. My God, it
She's
would
pretty
be
desolate in places. They took us on a 60-mile run, to see the sights. And you got out into some areas where I thought, wow, this would be tough to winter through here.
Are you kidding me? You would rather live with neighbors just right up your backside than live in total freedom and comfort.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the great thing about America. You can live like a jackass.
I'd miss the sound of urban sirens and gunfire.
Oh, gross.
Gunfire. Did you take advantage of the clear sky at night to gaze at any stars?
Unfortunately, that's a good question.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I'm not mocking you. I was just wondering.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. It was cloudy. It might as well have been snowing.
Oh no,
It was about 48 degrees at night and cloudy.
that's unfortunate.
That
So
is
how-
unfortunate.
How much further or farther?
Further's in
Farther.
addition to farther's time.
Yeah, one of those. North are they from us? I mean, you make it sound like you visited the Northern Territories.
No, I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just suggesting that by the time you get to Thunder Bay, you're not crushed with humanity. Even though Thunder Bay's 100,000 people.
Was there still snow on the ground?
No.
I'm
But they're
desperate.
behind in their tree budding, and their lilacs were just starting.
The igloos melting yet?
Some igloos are melting. Now, have you been reading about the ship, the freighter full of taconite?
How
Yes.
did that make it back into port?
I think I saw that boat.
Really?
I think I did. I don't know if it was that boat, but there was a great big freighter in Thunder out on the bay, and of course, I went down to the lake to gaze.
We got to stay with
So-
it, bro.
They made it back under their own power,
Yeah.
correct? Although
Yeah.
there wasn't another freighter right there to assist.
They made it bad. There was a freighter or two in the harbor itself, or what would be called the bay, in Thunder Bay. They got in,
Sure,
tucked in
yeah.
behind those big islands, and
Yep.
and there was a boat in there that might have been listing. Now that I think
At
about it.
what point would you want to abandon ship?
But
I
that
mean,
point,
wouldn't you want off? I'd want off right away.
I
just
hear a
right
drop.
away.
I hear a drop going in, and I'm thinking
Yes.
this is gone.
Yes.
Well, it
Yeah.
wasn't. It wasn't a situation of fuel leaking or an explosive problem. It,
Try to
it,
tell me that.
it hit something under the water and it was taking on water.
That's the phrase, taking on water.
Right.
Taking on water.
That's,
That's the only
That's-
phrase I don't want to hear if I'm on a boat.
isn't that the equivalent to a door blowing out on an airliner?
I mean, well, when that happens, the airliner takes on air.
It takes on air.
It paused.
And at that point, I can't jump.
So you mentioned America's Hat. Tell me you've seen the most recent video of your guy. I always butcher his name, Pierre Poilievre.
I haven't.
It's
I
spectacular.
love that guy.
It's spectacular. Do you want to hear a snippet of it?
Sure.
Okay, so this is him.
He's running to beat that. Oh boy, I almost said a really bad word.
Careful.
Was he the one that
Trudeau.
he put somebody in his place while eating an ice cream cone?
Yes.
Apple.
Yes.
Apple.
Okay.
It was an apple.
An apple. All right. Yeah.
And it's just simply titled "Bring Home the Canadian Dream." He might as well be talking about our country,
All
but
right.
it's very, very good.
You know, all of you are living or contributing to, I should say contributing to, perhaps not yet living, the Canadian dream. And the Canadian dream was a promise that if you work hard, you got a powerful paycheck and pension that bought affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods, that anyone from anywhere could do anything. That was the deal. But that deal and that promise, like everything else after 9 years of Justin Trudeau, is broken. Everything costs more. Work doesn't pay. You make it, he takes it. Housing costs have literally doubled so that 76% of Canadians who don't own a home believe they never will, which is insane given that we have the most land per capita of any developed country on earth. Homes should be cheap. They should be dirt cheap because we have the most dirt to build on. But somehow we have the most expensive real estate in the G7.
I get it.
Our
Okay.
real estate prices.
But he's saying
You can
this.
say that here.
But he's saying this at a warehouse in front of a bunch of
Mhm.
people working.
Mm-hmm.
It's really. You know what? I'll post this as a link to the show page today if people want to watch it. It's really good, man. God, I hope he. gets
How
it.
was it getting in and out of Canada? How was that process?
A snap.
Yeah. Did they
State real
find
ID or his passport?
I had a passport. I
Did
had an
they,
enhanced license.
find your stuff?
No, I had that
You were
pretty well
good?
hidden.
You have,
Excuse
a what,
me,
you have a
sir.
what license?
Enhanced.
Oh, okay.
Well, let me tell you about that. I had some trepidation because the news last week was the Canadian Border Patrol agents were going to strike.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
you were
right.
talking about that all week.
But they hadn't yet, nor are they. They're still negotiating. And so I talked to the guy when my turn to get to the window.
Oh, here we go.
I said, "Are you guys?" What do you mean? Here we go.
Hey,
You know
fella.
what?
Hey, fella.
Yeah.
Live around here.
Yeah. Here we go.
Curiosity has served me well. Okay.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
said to the
Living,
guy, "Are you guys going out?" And he said, "We can't. We're not. We may strike, but we'll have to be here." But he said, "See those cars behind you?" And I looked, and there was 10 cars behind me. He said, "I can make that line disappear into the distance."
Last a while.
The guy was bragging about how he would enforce rule to work, which
Yeah.
means if they wanted to, they could empty your suitcase.
Wait.
They could.
You know what? This reminds me of a PD Rook used to have that from time to time would tell him, I could make your life a living hell.
Yeah.
my friend."
Yeah.
No, I'm picturing
Yes.
the scene from Wayne's World when Rob Lowe gets stopped by the cop. There's just one more thing I gotta check.
Well, whatever. That's a nice
What?
reference to a movie that probably was rated about
Hey.
3 out of 100.
Hey.
Wayne's World.
So can I get
Joe.
back to the damn story?
Well, one more question before you continue on. You have an enhanced license, you say. Anything else you have that's been enhanced?
No. But so the guy, I mean, he was a nice enough guy, but why would he admit that he was willing to be that much of a
Well, why would a program director tell Rook that I could fire you if I wanted to?
Anyway, coming back, it would not have been a problem, nor was it, because you're going through U.S. Customs and they weren't facing a strike. Coming back, it took 30 seconds to get through customs.
Oh, really?
I mean, it was nothing. You
I
had the
would've-
guy the passport. He said, "What were you doing?" I said, "I was at a car show. Bing, bang, boom. See ya."
Huh.
Oh, cool.
I would imagine it would have been the other way around.
Yeah.
Getting into the old America's hat.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't really look like a terrorist,
It's true.
Mm.
Aren't you the
I'll give
guy
you
that
that.
got stuck in the sand a couple of years ago?
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with terrorism. That was just
Wasn't that in America's hat?
no. That was in Brainerd.
Oh, Brainerd. That's right. I'll just go around this road
Yeah,
close
hang
sign.
on, I got it.
In the lowest car ever produced.
Hey, fella, do you have any tracks?
Can we get back to the EV situation?
Go.
Yeah,
You know, I didn't lose my place.
You kept it?
Tim writes, the Minnesota state government is truly the gang that can't shoot straight. And he's referring to the Minnesota e-bike rebate program. After promoting the new program for months, the technical system collapsed as soon as people tried to apply at 11 a.m. last Wednesday.
Mhm.
The thing,
Wow.
they screwed it up.
Wow.
One error message after another surfaced as users tried in vain to get the rebate. Then the state sent a few email messages to us telling us what we already knew. They were having technical difficulties and that the entire application process would have to be rerun at a later date. He sent me all the links to this. He showed me this. And finally, the messages seemed to attempt a cover your ass by insinuating that the state's IT partners were to blame,
Sure.
as if those outside partners aren't managed directly by the state. You mean to give away some money to buy an e-bike, the state had to contract with outsiders? You don't have enough people in this bleeping government to do it yourself?
Right.
I'm fed up with this state squandering our money on ill-advised programs with incompetent oversight. If one thing marks the Walz administration, it's been incompetency and incompetent oversight. What is the food fraud scandal if not incompetent oversight?
Correct.
Without a doubt.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
I'm fed up with this state squandering our money on ill-advised programs with incompetent oversight, followed by no accountability. The food fraud has exemplified no accountability. The head of education retired, conveniently enough,
Heather,
Mueller,
thank you.
and Walz hadn't said anything. It's a major failure, and not a word from these people. No accountability. The list is endless, Tim notes. Feeding Our Future, MNsure, the bottomless pit of public education, and now this. I've always thought that the following is true. We get the government we deserve, but it's high time for the citizens of Minnesota to wake the F up and make changes in leadership. apparently we have dedicated $4.5 million for people to buy e-bikes. I want you to run out to EcoFun and buy one, but I have no obligation to provide you with an e-bike.
Right.
None, zero, zip, nada, nothing.
That's
zilch.
on you, brah.
The Department of Incompetence. That's funny. He mentioned all the departments I was going to mention. MNsure. Don't forget Department of Commerce. Oh, and the new Department of Weed, where only criminals can apply to grow and sell weed.
He worked for the weed department.
Yeah, he got weed.
But the government inserts itself in ever widening layers of your life. Can you imagine this happening 10 or 20 years ago, that the government would provide a rebate so you could buy a bicycle?
No.